Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be giving you my Leo 2022 horoscope forecast, and it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, well, first thing off, I'm going to get into the Jupiter transit for 2022 and how it relates to Leo. Now, the thing about this is Jupiter is going to be transiting Pisces and Aries during the 2022. Now, the time when it's in Pisces for Leo, the eighth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, this could be very, Jupiter is the planet of luck and fortune. It can be, prosperous for Leo for an inheritance, or it could be very lucky for just leaving a legacy. That's Pisces related. That's connected with altruism, sacrifice, compassion, forgiveness at this time. It can also, when you have in transit as well, this could also be, it could be very positive and beneficial for like a spiritual transformation for Leo at this time as well. Pisces is connected with spirituality. The eighth house is associated with transformation. Um, the thing about this too is that keep in mind the eighth house is also connected with viruses. So, and I talked before about Jupiter being very paradoxical. It could be very strongly benign and benevolent. It could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. Now, it can enlarge and expand maybe some virus that might be something that's nebulous or unclear. Pisces is about diseases and can be connected, well, ones that can't be eradicated, really. And the fact is, eighth house is viruses. Leo needs to be careful during this time. It can be, something, COVID, you know, is a disease, it's a virus, and it's one in which, okay, there may be a vaccine out for it, but it's not 100%. In terms of what Dr. Fauci would say, as far as its efficacy, its effectiveness, it's not. So in a way, the COVID is like one of those things that can be eradicated, not 100% anyway, not 100% of the time. But another thing is that now during the time, also keep in mind that Jupiter, being being Aries for part of the time, part of 2022 as well. So for Leo at this time, that ninth house is what is going to be emphasized and highlighted. So in some cases, it could manifest in the enlargement of maybe drive and motivation in ninth house related matters such as religion, higher education, publishing, advertising, dealings with foreigners, foreign travel. It may be fortuitous for something Aries related that's connected with higher education. Welding, carpentry, doing speech therapy, pathology, being a speech, learning to be a speech therapist. And the thing is, though, at the same time, as I've stated before, Jupiter is still very paradoxical. It can enlarge things. It can enlarge perhaps contentious situations with in-laws and grandchildren as well during this time. And it's just something, to keep in mind, at this time, Leo. So anyway, next thing I want to get at, Saturn is going to be in Aquarius during 2022. So the seventh house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Leo. So there can be, some more responsibilities for Leo. Saturn is about responsibilities and perhaps altruistically and selflessly helping others in general. There could be a lot of hard labor for Leo. It could be in an Aquarius business partnership. The seventh house is about partnerships. If you're an astrologer, you might find yourself involved in more work at this time than usual. There might be more responsibilities to it. Aquarius is also connected with computers and networking, the internet. astronomy, innovation, astronomy. So if you're in any of these fields, you might find yourself in your, say you're in a partnership, you might find yourself having more responsibilities with this, and it might be, it might be more, you might be working more laboriously on these things. The thing about this transit as well is that when you have, Saturn is also about restrictions and limitations. You might feel that your relationships might be somewhat restricting, or might be limitations with them. It might be in an Aquarius, it might be due to very cold, detached, aloof people at this time that you may be dealing with, and you might feel that these people are just, for whatever reason, maybe they're distancing themselves from you, and it might be a time to Saturn is also connected with despondency as well, so there might be more sorrow in these matters as well. There might be more responsibility to legal issues, and being an Aquarius, it could be ones that come up very unpredictably, unexpectedly. It could be something that might be associated with the internet, or something that was posted on there, whether by you or could be somebody else. It might be some lawsuit that might come up, unexpectedly, that's causing more difficulty. You might find yourself, Saturn is about chronic illnesses, so you might find yourself taking care of a debilitated, or could be a sickly, marriage, could be a significant other, a marriage partner, could even be a grandparent. Might be something Aquarius related, such as something with the ankles, the shins, calves, circulation, or nerves. And some of you will have this transit of the Saturn, being your sixth house during this time, and it can be also, it could be very more responsibility to health related issues. Such as, again, it could be something Aquarius related, something with the ankles, the shins, circulation, nerves, the lower legs, at this time, and more responsibilities toward work. It could be you might be, if you have this, this transit going on in your sixth house at this time, it can be a lot more work that you have to do, because the sixth house is connected with employment and work. And Saturn is about laborious work. It's about hard labor at this time, and it could be doing something Aquarius related, as I stated before. Saturn can be about chronic illnesses, so you might be dealing with something that could be a chronic illness that could be very debilitating, that could be Aquarius related, such as the examples I stated before. Now, another thing too is that going to Uranus. Well, Uranus, is going to be, your 10th house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted at this time, Leo. And Aquarius, Uranus is very unpredictable. There might be some, major shakeup in your career at this time, or you might choose to, a new career, might be something Uranus related, such as something with astrology or astronomy or computers, aerospace, aviation, innovation. And you might desire, being in Taurus, perhaps you desire to be something that's stable, and something you show a lot of persistence in at this time. Now also too, Uranus is about friendships. And being in Taurus, it could be ones that are very stable, steady, solid, ones that are persistent, loyal, and steadfast, and they might figure more prominently in your success and any notoriety you're trying to attain at this time. If you're trying to promote something, whether it's a product or your business, it could be a time where these people will be beneficial to it. It could simply be they may be sharing your promotion, for your business on their, could be a Facebook page as an example at this time. And you might be experiencing more instability in career-related matters, or something unanticipated might come up that affects your public image and reputation at this time, Leo. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now another thing is that some of you may be having this transit in your ninth house, as far as Uranus and Taurus in 2022, and this could be manifest in a number of ways. You might have a very unanticipated long-distance journey you have to take care. You have to go on. It could be very spontaneous. It could be something where maybe your in-laws and grandchildren might be acting maybe unpredictably or in an unusual manner. Might be dealing with rebellious grandchildren or in-laws at this time. Maybe they're acting in a non-conforming manner. It might be something too where you might be more interested in some kind of Uranus type of publishing, such as something with astrology or astronomy, computers, innovation, aviation. It might be just simply internet publishing, which you have show a lot of persistence with and stick-to-itiveness, which of course that's associated with Taurus. And also too, you might be forming like an unorthodox type of philosophy at this time as well, Leo, and which it might be surprising to those, because if there's a sudden change in this, considering Leo is a fixed sign, known to be very intractable, this could obviously be a major surprise to people at this point in time. And anyway, well, the next thing I want to get to, okay, Neptune is going to continue to be in Pisces during 2022. So for Leo, the 8th house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted. Now, this is another thing that could manifest in a number of ways. Neptune is a lot of meaning to it. Some people might ask, well, does this just be my 8th house is what's emphasized and highlighted, or I'm having this Neptune traverse my 8th house? Does this mean death at this time? Well, in most cases, it won't be anything as far as death goes. If a death were to occur at this time, especially if this is an older person having this transit, it's going to be if Neptune has recently entered one's 8th house, naturally it's going to be in there for some time. And if it's an older person, it's a person that's like over 55 or so, naturally the death might naturally coincide with that transit. And if a death were to occur, it could be something Neptune related. It could be some chemical, inadvertent chemical assimilation. It may be something connected with the immune system, or maybe there's some cancer in the feet or the toes, or something like that, or something that's connected with the disease that can't be eradicated. But but generally speaking, that doesn't equate to a death. But I do remember there was some I don't remember her name, but there was an actress that had sadly passed away, and I don't know if it was if it was in 2021 or 2020, and she either had Neptune in the 8th house natally or by transit. I think it was, I think she had it natally, and she died of drowning. But this is very isolated. And the thing about this too is it also might be, Leo, at this time you got to guard against some kind of being victimized by some insurance fraud. Neptune and Pisces energy is connected with victims. It's deception, duplicity. The 8th house is insurance, or deception, duplicity, and taxes. At this time as well. It can also be a time where people that are, if you're involved in an intimate connection or in a shared resources scenario, that these people may be more deceptive at this time. They may be more nebulous and unclear. You might be having a hard time trying to understand these people at this time. Sometimes it could be the dissolving and dissipation, of the libido at this time. If you're an older person and you're having this transit, then this is a time where it might be more, intensified and very emphasized during this time, Leo. Now, this could also be, a time too, for Leo, and this is a time. I mean, again, it can be about a spiritual transformation. Is another way. This could manifest. The eighth house is also about crisis, so you might find yourself maybe, dealing, with some crisis. It might be, one, the fact that you're talking about Neptune. Maybe this is something, that might be. Neptune is about, it's about, obviously. Many things. It could be, some deception, maybe by somebody that caused a crisis. You might be dealing, with credit card fraud at this time, and there may be, some issue. I wouldn't say Neptune. It was also chaos, and it could also be where you might be dealing in some cases of flooding. That might be causing a crisis. It could be Neptune is about chemicals. It could be a chemical leak or gas leak in your home, for example. And that might be causing, especially if you have, like, say, this is conjoining, your natal moon as an example, or it's making, an adverse aspect, say, to your fourth house cusp, or even an adverse aspect to your natal moon. That could be, if you have other things that could reaffirm or reinforce this, it could indicate something like that as well. And the thing about, this too, is that next thing, actually, I want to go to Pluto. Pluto will be in Capricorn. It will continue to be in Capricorn for the entire 2022 year. So for Leo, the sixth house is what is going to be emphasized and highlighted. So, this could another transit, of course, could manifest and be expressed in a number of ways. You may experience the death of an aunt or an uncle at this time. You might be feeling that your health is obliterated or everything, but at this time it might be a crisis that's health related. Or Pluto is also about transformation, it's surgery. In being in Capricorn, it might be something, with the knees, the bones, the hamstrings, the joints at this time. Maybe the skeleton as well. The bones. This is something at this time too, where it may be, dealing with the figurative ending at a place of employment, of a business at this time. Might be coming to an end. Pluto is about obliteration, it's destruction. You could also be dealing with some health-related issues that are associated with Pluto. It could be something, with the colon or the prostate, the bladder, the reproductive system. At this time, you might be going through a transformation, which could be, which is health-related at this time. It might be a time where you decide, being in Capricorn, it might be some kind of, regimented exercise program. You become involved in something you're very consistent in at this time, doing something you take very seriously. And you might be trying to get power and control over your health. And also, too, you might be dealing with, people maybe that are more, Pluto is secrecy. Maybe you're more secretive in your daily routine. Maybe there's more people in your daily routine that you see are becoming more secretive, that are more mysterious at this time, more so than usual. You might experience the death of a pet, sadly, as well during this time, which can be, true regardless. Of course, of transits, and Pluto is obviously a very sustained, transit. It stays in the house, longer, travels. It takes the longest to go around the 12 zodiac signs. It's going to stay in the house longer than any other, any other planets. So um, the thing is, you might be experiencing, it could be the death of a pet, and as I stated before, it could also be the death of an aunt or an uncle at this time, or you might even be interested more in doing something Pluto related connected with employment. You might maybe you start a position you call it, which includes astrology, or working as a coroner. It could be doing work with insurance, recycling, taxes, forensics, investigation, as some examples as well. And well, there's really not much more for me to say. Think about this forecast for Leo for 2022. Could also be, as far as Pluto, this, again, the sixth house being emphasized and highlighted at this time. It could also be the death of an employee, maybe somebody that you knew that was prominent in your life. It could have been somebody that was a good friend. And anyway, and it's really, again, Pluto, I want to just say, I don't know if I'm a little bit of a Gemini moon tangent. Pluto is not, it's been declassified, by, I believe it's still declassified by scientists. You want to confer that on the internet, is is a dwarf planet or something. At astrology, I would say, at least most astrologers see this as a planet. I do see it as of significance. My mother recently passed away, and when she passed away, transit Pluto was making an applying conjunction to her natal moon in Capricorn in the sixth house of health. The moon is also her first house ruler, the physical body. And she may have passed away. It might have been stomach or breast cancer. Maybe it hit her. I honestly don't know the cause of it at this point in time, or death. But and you can't ever. And I had a sad feeling something like that was, she was pass near that time when transit Pluto was conjunct her moon. Sure enough, sadly, that's what took place. But you can't underestimate this planet Pluto. And those of you that might think it's trite or trivial or something, it's not significant. You will find out. Transit Pluto is very it has significance, and no one, I don't think, can really should underestimate its power. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.